we have to be very, very careful. Our banks are the most corrupt institutions in the world. Nigerian banks. We make laws, we violate those laws, we ignore it, put them aside. How could you tell me a bank received money transfer to a Nigerian from another country? The bank holds it, say they have not received it. And they do business with it for 3 or 4 days. And they say, oh, your money has just arrived. And you use the naira to purchase the dollar. You know very well that there is exchange system built into the economy. But you use naira to purchase the dollar. Take the dollar into your suitcase. Take it to Dubai. You are a corrupt, stealing person. You stole the money because dollar is not Nigerian money. And you betray the trust that has been imposed on you. I call it tripodal stand. In tripodal stand syndrome, when you are syndicating for a source, you must know the origin of that source. When you are going, you must know where you are going so that you can get there. And when you get there, how you can remain there. Number 2, do you have a will of using that standing? If you don't have, then what is your objective? The application of 6W is here. Let me start. What do Nigerians want as a people? Where do Nigeria want it? Why do Nigerians want it? Who do Nigerians want it from? And for whom Nigerians want it? If Nigeria consciously utilize the resources Nigeria has, Nigeria is one of the richest nations on earth. I can prove it by telling you I have traveled to 167 countries in the world. I have seen, touched, and felt what it is. I have lived with the people. I'm not praising myself, but China will never forget whom I am because I told them where to go, how to go there, when they get there, how they can remain there. And they did it. Corruption we are talking about, US call it TIP. T-I-P. Time investment price. TIP. If you help me and I achieve what you help me, then I can say, thank you. I tip you. But if I give you money in order for you to do your work, you are corrupt. You are a rogue. You are a stealer. You are a cheater. Why do government pay you or your employer pay you to do a work? And when you are doing that work, you have to receive a compensation that you have not worked for. And you've done that work. It's not for the best interest of whom you are. Nigeria forgot to like each other. Where there is likeness, it leads to love. Where there is no love, there is no peace because there is hate. But when there is a likeness, you get to love. And when you love, you get to peace. When you get to peace, there is prosperity. Every Nigerian is a progressive, inventive, strong person. Unfortunately, 1 is a function of 10 in Nigerian scenario. And 10 is a function of 100. 100 is a function of 10,000.
Okay.
I will expatiate.
Right. We'll get to you, Prof. And you've introduced another dimension which we'll keep in view and we'll return to that. But let's come back to Ustaz at this point. some of the biggest challenges in fighting corruption have to do with prosecuting cases. Just how can these be overcome? Because you hear of so many things, finally they go to court, it doesn't take long before it's thrown out. There's a lot of noise about what has been discovered or what is being alleged. By the time it finally gets to court, it's like it blows up in smoke.
The issue is simply this. Now, and that's where I started. Are we seriously trying to fight corruption in this country? In the olden days, I was given some EFCC cases to prosecute. When I started, the allegation was that I was going too fast. I had to return their files. You see, the issue is that when the wife or siblings of a president or governor is involved, they will ask you who has asked you to send him to jail, who has asked you to oppose his bail. So that in Nigeria, it seems we are not yet ready to fight corruption. And two, you see, you may have a good case. Litigation is a very technical issue. You may hold a piece of paper now. If you don't know how to lay foundation to tender, it will be thrown out. And there's nothing the judge can do because the judge is not a witness. I'll come to that. And that is why in most cases, we blame the judges unnecessarily when we should blame our own prosecution. You see, when the looters are able to hire SANs, you are taking somebody who is not experienced. How can he be a match? When the case is thrown out, you start blaming the judges. The judge has nothing to do. The judge will only act upon how you have been able to establish or rubbish your case. And that's what is really happening. Seriously, there is also this issue. Sage, my friend, is talking, but I think he's talking too much rather than matching with an action. He is an SCN. Why can't he go and personally prosecute these cases? Most of these cases are thrown out on technical grounds, and then he will start blaming judges. That is not the judge's duty. In fact, if the judge puts himself in the position of the witness, then he's no longer right to try that case. Then he should step down and be a witness. He can't put himself in the position of the witness. But people like Sage want him to do that, which is unfortunate. The issue is that the prosecution is never ready. They don't give it to competent people. And even they do, when siblings or relations or friends of important people are involved, you are told not to prosecute. So unless we are ready to fight corruption, corruption will remain with us. And please, don't blame judges.
Yes. There are many problems associated with inability to secure much convictions in our laws. The fundamental one has to do with the quality of investigation. The quality of investigation determines the easiness or otherwise of the prosecutor to get his case correct in the court. In most cases, you will discover that proper investigation will not be completed before our law enforcement agents will go into dragging to arrest. You arrest, you cut away with assets and money and the rest. Then before you now come about trying to establish the correct points you want to present before the court. And in most cases, that is the reason why you will discover so many technicalities of trying to amend charges. They bring so many charges, spurious charges that will not hold the test of time as the proceeding is going on in the court. And apart from that, the second problem has to do with the issue of financing prosecution. Financing investigation and financing prosecution is a very serious capital intensive. Government should be prepared to adequately fund the cost of investigation and the cost of prosecution, even if it warrants going to any block of the world. Another problem we have has to do with the issue of, mostly I normally attack my learned seniors, the senior advocates of Nigeria. The body of the senior advocates of Nigeria are yet to tune in this fight, with due respect to my learned senior that is before me here. Like he rightly said, so many times in a situation whereby a lawyer from the Ministry of Justice who relies on paltry salary payment at the end of the month is hereby facing a dozen of senior advocates of Nigeria, or even 2 dozens or 3 dozens. Tell me the balance of probability of that person to win. Now, even if somebody has paid you money, even if somebody said you should slow the prosecution, you should know that number one, most important thing over and above any other thing is you are an officer of the law. You are a minister in the temple of justice. Your primary obligation should be fairness and justice to the issue at stake, irrespective of whosoever is the personality involved. And another very important problem regarding the way we are losing the DEC is a failure of our Ministry of Justice, with due respect to his, the Attorney General. Of course, he may be doing his very best, but the president spent the first 1 year going around the globe, different countries, signing various treaties. Treaties that have to do with exchange of prisoners, treaties that have to do with repatriation of the looted funds, treaties that have to do with extradition of criminals, treaties that have to do with exchange of trials, even in between the DEC. Unfortunately, application of Section 12 of the Constitution that says no treaty signed in between Nigeria and any country of the world will start the test of law, except to the extent to which it has been domesticated in Nigeria. Section 12 of the Constitution clearly said that all those treaties should be presented to the National Assembly for them to be domesticated, having 2/3 of the majority. If you don't have that one, then all those treaties, we are losing the possibility of getting all the looted funds repatriated, and we are losing the possibility of getting all those criminals that have hidden in Europe and other countries tried there on behalf of the citizens of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much. The phone lines are open. We still have a caller. The very first caller is calling in from Ibadan, Shegun, I believe. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to talk about this issue of fighting this corruption. Please, the issue of the pension scandal. Please, what is our president, His Excellency Buhari, what is he doing about the case? Because to me, I think he is very too slow in fighting this corruption. You should have had facts and let all the Nigerians know that, yes, he seriously wants to fight the corruption. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Shegun. That was a quick one. Prof, well, is it a case of big money versus small ethics?
It's lack of patriotism. Nigeria's trust has been betrayed. Very few, if any, of Nigeria is patriot. Everybody say, I, me, myself. If you hire a lawyer to defend you in a case, and if that lawyer is not trustworthy, he will not believe you. And if you do not give that lawyer enough money, your accuser will give that lawyer enough money. The lawyer will sell the facts of your case to that prosecutor. You are a loser. But if there is a patriotism that when you wrong one person, you are wronging the nation. And when you betray the trust of a nation, you are betraying the trust of yourself, all your family, and your generations yet unborn. That belief is not there. What we need in Nigeria is start to preach patriotism, Nigeria first, and you are second. You harm Nigeria, you are harming all of us, including yourself. We will take care of you. We will treat you.
Let me.
It's not the court. It's not lawyer. It's Nigerians. Nigeria must stop corruption.
Let me put this. There's so many people who say this, whether it's true or not. When Nigerians are, they tell you it never used to be like this.
It was not.
So the question is, at what point did this start?
Let me
so
tell
what
you,
happened?
started.
Was
The first coup
okay?
in Nigeria was a tribalistic biased. The second coup was retaliatory. The third coup didn't correct it. Nigeria began to lose confidence, respect for themselves. And from that lost, we have not been able to regain it. When Buhari came in, okay, and he wanted to correct it, he short-lived. And as a result of that, a gap was created. If you check the routine, it's like a changing dress. A mission was not accomplished. A goal was not set. Objectivity was not pursued. And as a direct result of that, when you tell me a permanent secretary have 15 cars, and the labor, it does not have a bicycle, the children play football together, do you think that permanent secretary is real? It's not real. If the society wants to correct these things, let us set objectivity of a goal, of a nation, where we are going, and how do we get there?
Right. Return to you. Back to the phones now from Gombe. We have Nadada from Gombe. Hello.
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon. Good evening, Cyril.
Good evening.
I'm calling you from Gombe State. I really appreciate this program. It's very interesting and very important as far as Nigerian development is concerned. Let me first of all observe that fighting corruption in Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, is just like a war. It's just like we say the federal government is going into a war without having adequate preparations and instruments to fight that war. Because if you look at especially the recent judgment just passed on judges that EFCC is restricted, from investigating judges, that in itself alone is a sign and symptom that really we are not fighting corruption in Nigeria. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and secondly, I also want to ask the prof there that this issue of corruption, as he has mentioned, considering the dynamic nature of this corruption, what, in his own opinion, does he think that the Buhari administration should do that will enable us fight this corruption to the satisfaction of Nigerians? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's a question to me.
Yes.
I want to respond. May I?
Yes, please.
Okay. One, it is not Buhari problem. It's Nigerians' problem. It's not Nigeria's problem. Nigeria is the most cleanest nation on earth. Why? Nigeria has the combination of what is good for bad, and how to cure bad from good to return to the best. Nigerians do not value the value and the property what they have. But European nations, other nations on earth, value Nigerians. What is happening here in retrospect is that Nigerian tribalistic behavior has eaten deep to the behavior and conduct of Nigerians. For example, if you watch out closely, our leaders are the most illegal behavior people. Take people who are driving cars. If a driver, a taxi driver, sees a minister or a permanent secretary cross the red light, ignoring, do you think is a good example? No, you cannot do that. Because when you cross that red light I mean, you hit a car. It's not only that car you hit. You hit the economy, you hit the peace, you hit the stability, you hit trustworthiness of Nigerians. That's what you have committed. Then, when a taxi man does that, he say, oh, I will beat you up, I kick you, because it's a small man. It's a sin. So for me, what I want to ask Buhari to do, limit authority. Say, governor, this is your boundary. You cannot go beyond there. If you go beyond there, you are anti the system. You must not jump and cross red line when it is a safety valve. And you, EFCC, you must be investigated. Who is checkmating EFCC? EFCC check everybody. Who is checking EFCC? Supposing EFCC are corrupt. So what I suggest is let Nigeria organize a state program that you, state, you will not get any compensation or money from the state if you do not do A, B, C. Can set up a condition.
Okay, back to the phones. We have from Adama State, Adamu, calling in from Adama. Hello, Adamu.
Yes, hello, good evening, how are you?
Good evening, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm Adamu Jire calling from Adamawa Jire local government. I called to hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to start by appreciating your effort for looking into this particular very important topic. Secondly, I want to admit that actually our fight for corruption is not really fighting corruption. We are just wasting time and resources for 2 or 3 reasons. You imagine we are fighting corruption only from the angle of those that are working for the government, those that are stealing government money. Forgetting corruption at the police checkpoints. In the daylight, you see police collecting 20 naira, 30 naira. You see the military officer for collecting 20 naira, 30 naira in the daylight. And the same people will tell you that we are helping this government to fight corruption. Yet they are the very one collecting bribes from people. Hopefully at police checkpoints, you see people collecting money. That is one. And the government of the day will not respond to see anything about that. That one is not a crime, is not a corruption. But if you steal money from the government treasury, they will begin to call you this, call you that. You look at a situation where they have collected money from so many people that have stolen it. How much is the money realized? Up till today, nobody can tell us the exact figure. Where is this money? Nobody can tell you exactly where it is. Even the legislative arms of the government are asking of this question, but yet no answer. You look at it, okay, what is the economic effect? Thank God that the econometric prof is there with you. You will know that this money that they are retrieving from the pool of the economy is further contrasting the economy, inflicting more sufferings to people. If you collect this money, you keep it aside, you don't use it, you are affecting the economy at the other end. Something has to be done. The government has to look for experts to guide them properly in the collection and utilization of these particular resources from the leaders. That is true. Three, the way and manner, the 2 other sons there, they have already identified where the problem is. I want to refer to the fact. He has admitted that most of these cases is lack of proper handling of the cases at the court. That's why most of these corruption cases are being failing. Somebody took a looter to the court. All of a sudden, before you notice, they will say this guy is appointed. No problem. He has no case again. He has left. Why is it that the forces, the agencies that are saddled with this responsibility cannot sit down and make a proper investigation, and then before coming up with all these ideas, Then they now take the issue to the court so that when they go to the court, they have an evidence. Court issue is just an evidence. The court acts based on evidences you tender before them. That is where the judge make an informed opinion. But where you take a case and you did not present any evidence that will convince the court that this guy is a looter, there is no way this guy can be convicted in the court in the court. And at the end of the day, he will be left to go free. When he come back to the society, people will be hailing him. He is this, he is that. In fact, the very first day that he will be coming back to his state, they will hire crowds. They will go to the airport and then have him, welcome him. In fact, hold a welcome party for him. And that is to tell you how corrupt that we are. And we need to change our mindset. I think that is the only way forward about this thing. And the government has to be very serious about that. Whosoever that this is involved in this matter have to be dealt with decisively. But you have ministers with you that are corrupt. You have your permanent secretary corrupt. All of them are corrupt. The other agencies, the ESCC, the SSS, they are fighting, knowing fully that what they are doing is wrong. Yet you keep quiet. You did not take a solution. You did not act about it. And yet you say you want to fight corruption. How is it possible that we fight corruption? I only pray that God should intervene in our fight in the big crusade that we need to fight corruption to sanitize our economy. May God help us so that at least at the end of the day we fight the corruption and the menace will go away completely from our land. Thank you. I raise my case.
Thank you very much. Well, so many issues have been thrown up here.
I'll be very happy if I can react to some, particularly from my two friends here. Now, Professor said that if you don't pay a lawyer well, the opponent will bribe him out. I think it is a lawyer who doesn't want to maintain his name. And I am telling you that, you see, I'm sorry, do you know the genesis of this corruption? Do you know how this thing came about? For those of us who are old, it is the military that brought about corruption. Now, in the olden days, in my own youth, if your father or grandfather had stolen a goat, his children would not get a husband or wife there. But immediately the military came. Now, when Murtala came, for example, Murtala had a very good intention. But when he said, submit the names of those who are corrupt, people started witch hunting. And so many people were unnecessarily retired, went home, could no longer train their children and so on. Then the others who were left say, what am I left here for? Of course, I should save for the raining day. That is one of the causes. Then two is the same military. Before the military, if you are corrupt, everybody will run away from you. But immediately the military came in. And with the greatest respect, Gowon did something that led to his overthrow. And it was a very welcome overthrow. Now, his lieutenants, particularly J.D. Gomwok of blessed memory, was doing some funny things. Because he came from the same place with Gowon, instead of Gowon chastising him, Gowon decided to paint him a saint. That was one of the reasons he was overthrown. So if you look at it, the genesis of corruption in this country is the military that introduced it. Before then, during the time of Sadana and Tafawa Balewa, did we hear of this? Okay. It is the military. No, I'm not finished. It is the military. And then when that thing started, those permanent secretaries and so on, who were able to steal, the ones who were not retired, started coming home to build skyscrapers and so on, and people started hailing them instead of condemning them. That was the genesis of corruption. So it is the military that established corruption in this country. And it is just an inflammable gas that has now refused to go down. But unfortunately for our people, you see, when a person steals public money, he's not wise enough. Let me tell you, you use 1 kobo of that money, buy kose akara for your children. Wallahi, God will destroy those children in your presence. Go to Jeremiah 7:22 to 23. Quran 4:8 and 17. The moment you do this thing, God will destroy those things that you had used that money to amass. We don't know that. We don't appreciate that. Tell me how many present governors or former governors or present children are anything today. Because they are not wise enough to know that because they have used a cup of public money to train their children, that is why they cannot introduce their children to you. That is why their children have become even threats to themselves. Unless we realize these things, you can't dodge the law of karma. Unless we realize these things, we won't get out of these things. But fortunately, God has a way of paying them back. They can never be happy. You can't take out people's money and say you're happy. And then my friend, again, did say something about the issue of judges. He said EFCC, we said it's no longer investigate any judge. EFCC had never said so. And let me tell you, I'm not a judge. I don't have a friend as a judge. But among the three arms of government, without the judiciary, Nigeria would have since collapsed. Starting, look, take an example of how Obasanjo wanted to remove Atiku. That would have caused us a lot of things we could never have anticipated. Then whatever it is the judiciary that is today the stabilizing factor in this country. I'm not saying that everybody in the judiciary must be a saint. In fact, you can never have any society where 100% are saints. Maybe in the next world, but definitely not here. But on a comparative basis, where you get one judge has been corrupt, you have 90 senators being corrupt, you have 290 members of the executive being corrupt. So, on a comparative basis, I think we should rather praise the judiciary rather than condemning them. Judges go through a lot of stress. And you look at it, judges are not even considered as an equal arm of the government. For example, look at the budget. Last year they were giving 70 billion. This year, I understand, is 100 billion. 100 billion out of 8.6 trillion. That is 0.025% of the entire budget. For the third arm of the government. Hold on.
There is no empty zero. You are deadly wrong.
Hold on.
Listen, I'm telling you what the truth is.
Well, Prof,
yes,
we will come to that. But again, let us even look at the other side of governance. Now,
you see,
it's been said that part of the issue is, we need to redistribute resources, for instance, a lack of equity, and not having equal opportunities. That these are, some of the big causes.
yes.
When people don't have access, they don't have equal access, then they have to help themselves, in quotes.
Well, let me start by talking about how we can get the fight against corruption successful in Nigeria. There are 5 points I want the government to consider. Let me start with the executive and the judiciary and the legislature, the combination of the three. My opinion is that state of emergency should be declared on war against corruption. When state of emergency is declared on the war against corruption, penalties like death penalty and other capital punishments should be evoked. And then we should have independent anti-corruption courts.
Even in a war that's campaigning against capital punishment?
Yes. That is what I'm saying. We are applying the Western bourgeois concept of fight against corruption. Okay. We should adopt the Asian African concept of the war against corruption. Right. By doing that, we should have independent anti-corruption courts. These courts should have divisions in the 6 geopolitical zones and competent, patriotic people that are not afraid to step on toes. Well-educated and hard-working patriots should be made the judges. And when that one is done, it should be a court of summary trial, devoid of the unnecessary technicalities we are always having. And this call should have time limitation, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months maximum within which to dispense any matter that comes before it. Once we establish the independent anti-corruption court and then declare emergency on fight against corruption, we should come back to Section 12 of the Constitution and domesticate all those treaties that the President signed with the international community. When that one is done, we should try to have synergy among the law enforcement agents, because rivalry among them is hampering the success of the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Not only synergy, but there should be an institution that should be managing all the proceeds that will be coming from the fight against corruption. Like Prof said, for accountability's sake of the proceeds of fight against corruption. And there is another very fundamental thing which is timely for the government to consider. This suspension of Nigeria from the Egmont Group. This is a group of those countries that have adopted international intelligence financial institutions in their body system. They are 138 in number. UK is a member, Britain is, United States is a member, France, Germany, the Arab League. Most of the super countries you think about are members. In fact, you cannot succeed in doing any business without the members of this Egmont Group. Now, in Nigeria, the reason why we got suspended for 3 months, which will elapse in this December. The suspension is predicated on the fact that we domicile it under EFCC, which is not supposed to be the case. It should be an independent body that should be amalgamating information, data, and details about intelligence about Nigeria, financial crimes about Nigeria, investments about Nigeria. So many bodies are supposed to benefit from the IFU, which is domiciled in the EFCC. The customs will benefit. The immigration will benefit. The EFCC will benefit. The ICPC will benefit. The Fiscal Responsibility Commission will benefit. The Federal Inland Revenue Service will benefit. The Nigerian Port Authority will benefit. The Nigerian Airways, if we have, will benefit. The Prison Service will benefit. Whatever you want is the portal of the international happenings regarding financial dealings, regarding legal prosecutions, regarding investments all over the world, regarding money lodged in various banks by whom and when. So we cannot succeed in fighting corruption internationally because it's an international menace until you domesticate, you have an independent intelligence financial unit in Nigeria which will be out of the EFCC so that all the component bodies of the development in Nigeria will benefit from the services. Unfortunately, the deadline given for us to establish it as a law is December 2017, after which we will be expelled. The moment we are expelled, it will spell doom on our ability to get the details of whatever money is slashed outside, whatever investment our criminals are having outside, whatever details of assistance we can get from the Interpol, from the even International Monetary Fund and all other international development bodies. We will not be able to have that opportunity and we will end up being a country that is sidelined because without the information, you will practically be amputated to be able to do anything tangibly for the country. So we need that one to be established. The National Assembly should evoke the power of sections 11 of the Constitution and make this law and establish it as an independent body out of EFCC if we want to continue in the Egmont Group, if we want to continue benefiting from those services, if we don't want the anti-corruption fight to fail.
All right, at this point in time, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll consider other issues related to dealing with the hydra-headed problem called corruption. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Securities and Exchange Commission SEC don't land with this ogbonge informate. SEC say person will be shareholder wey never register himself for the e-dividend as it happen so say make e waka go him register place or for him bank make them activate him bank account to fit collect dividend money whether them through wire. Plus including the money of dividend where them never collect this, but to make it never pass 12 years with this money down sit down for there. And again, sir, people will buy shares for one company. By the time when the company release their shares, then take different names, take buy them. SEC say they don't give them until 31st of December. Make them take repair them record according to how SEC tape arrange them for proper identificate. Person will never arrange himself by the end of 31st December 2017, SEC go transfer the money go Capital Market Development Fund. This one now trust to this one na SEC brain work to fit better owner and to give morale to the Nigerian capital market.
Sinoni Restaurant, serving authentic, delicious, and healthy Chinese cuisine.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. And there's so many issues that we have to look at concerning corruption. And just before the break, we're raising a matter about not having, equal opportunities, equity, issues of that. And these also lead to the problem of corruption. So what can be done? And that's in addition to governance challenges, good governance challenges.
Well, democratically speaking, the difference between democracy and military rule is the avenue for greater number of the populace to have their well-being improved. There are so many legislations. Sections 14.3 talks about the loyalty of the citizens to the nation. The Constitution clearly talks about the need for equity. Section 17, the social objective of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so that people will have an egalitarian society where there will be fairness, balanced distribution of resources, and equity. And it is absence of this that is bringing about all these agitations here and there. Some people are calling it restructuring, some people are calling it regionalism, some people, whatever terminology you want to call it. We have federal character principle, but in the practical application of it, there is selfishness there. tied to nepotism of those that are supposed to execute the policies of the government in line with the federal character principle. Therefore, the most important thing is the sincerity of purpose in the minds of those that govern the country. If you take, for example, Section 15.1, unity and faith, the motto of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, unity and faith, peace and progress. You have to have faithfulness in Nigeria and set in the way it is, and you should learn to be united, and you should be your brother's keepers. Sections 15.1 to 4 of the Constitution clearly talks about it. You have a binding obligation to consider the well-being of other citizens as you want the other citizens to consider for you, which is the same replica of what we have in the Bible and the Quran. And at the same time, there it clearly says that government resources, the entirety of government resources is for the citizenry. If you are a minister, or you are a governor, or you are a president, or local government chairman, or whatever level you find yourself, you are only a vicegerent of God to ensure proper application of trust on the resources given to you as the representative of God in that particular capacity. And definitely, no matter what you are, no matter whether you believe in death or you don't believe, you know you did not see your great-grandfather. And one day you know you will go to where he is. And the ultimate of it is that you will be accountable to God for that. And that is the reason why I always criticize Section 10 of the Constitution that says there is no state religion. We have fallacy of religion. We said there is no state religion. Yet, whenever they are going to swear in Yunus Ustaz Usman as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, they hang Holy Quran with him together with the Holy Bible. You have Muslim Pilgrims Commission, Christian Pilgrims Commission. We observe religious days and other things. So therefore, if we are to restrict ourselves to what the Constitution says and really learn to be fair to each other, going by the belief of one fact, that God did not discuss with you who should even be your mother. If God had wished, I would have been a monkey or a river or a woman or whatever. But God decided that I should be a man. That man should be somebody of my age and should be born from Katsina in Nigeria, and the rest, and the rest, and the rest. So you should, by virtue of which, you should treat others equal, because you don't have hand in even what you are created, or what you are labeled.
It's interesting you bring up the matter of religion here, but it is also known, Prof, it's also known that there are societies that are not into religion the way the Nigerian society is, and they're prosperous societies.
One of them.
So what's this thing?
Okay. Religion is a self-belief. There's only one God, not two. Faith in God is a trust in God. The likeness of you having God by yourself alone is wrong. God is for all of us. We want more of him every time, anywhere. But what we lack in Nigeria is lack of valid indigenous principles. BIP. What is the valid? Our culture, our tradition, tenet provide us the principles of approach. Do not steal. If you steal, it's a violation of our culture and our tradition. Do not cheat. If you cheat, you are cheating your parents. You are destroying the good name of your father and your mother. Don't do it.
On that premise,
yes,
can we now put part of the blame on the older generation, the elders, and say, yes, because if you had all the principles, what legacy did you bequeath to the younger generation?
Since you are more than 40 years old, did your mother know how to, did your mother get BA? Tell me. He didn't get BSc in education, but your mother taught you everything you are today. And your father may have known how to read, but he did not have PhD. But he disciplined you so that you can be equal and opposite. That is the meaning of valid. The validity of your parent is a functional responsibility for what you are, that you are today, that you must be.
The offspring we see, the people we see who are doing this, they are also offspring of parents that we so talk about and say they belong to an era where everything was
this
nice and good.
Europeanization attitude we have adopted that is wrong.
They are children and grandchildren of those people who lived in that era.
We are
that
not
you
Europeans.
So romanticize.
We are not Americans. I have spent 44 years, 16 days in America. All the universities there, they know me whom I am, for what I am. But not what they want me to be for them. I cannot be.
All right.
So, let us do this as a solution. One, the federal government, I am asking Buhari. Buhari knows me very, very well, even in the War College of the United States, okay? And when you say Professor Brahimi, Africative, logistic of defense and demand, you understand? He will know. So, what he should do now, let him issue an executive order. One, anybody who is a minister, you have more than 4 cars, finish. We take the rest. 2, if you have 10 houses and you say they are in your name and it's investigated, this is where the essay son is challenged. You say, no, these houses, you say it's yours, it's okay. Where do you get the money to buy it, to build it? Which bank loan you the money? If you cannot say, we take it. It belongs to the government. And then, it should not give authority a carpet walkthrough to the states. The states are claiming ignominy. They are the pivotal of corruption. If a state, you say, okay, you are a state, very good. Now, as a governor, this is what you do. You provide your people electricity. It's your duty. It's not federal duty anymore. Provide your people electricity. You, city, it's your business, it's your source of revenue. Provide electricity, water for your citizens. If you cannot do it, you lose the validity of your office.
All right. We have Chisom calling in from Abia State. Hello, Chisom.
Hello.
Yes, Chisom, go ahead.
Please, I have my question to ask. Waiting to you all. Good evening, all Nigerians and all viewers. The challenges of fighting the corruption in this country, the way to fight this country is when you are sick and in the hospital, and the doctor just imagine, and the doctor look like a mechanical man, will you be encouraged or will you be disencouraged? Now, for we to fight the country fight the corruption in this country, the fighters must be genuine. Because there's no how a mechanical man can come in like a doctor and you'll be encouraged to be sick, thinking you get a good health.
Anyway, well, we lost that call. Chisom, try and put that call back. We might just be able to get you back online. But anyway, he has made a quick point there and says, if you want to fight corruption, then I suppose what he's alluding to is the issue of trust. When he says, if you see a doctor who looks more like a mechanic, you wouldn't have confidence in that. So if you see someone who wants to fight corruption, then they must also, be people that you can look at and say they have credibility.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And I think if I may come in, he's very correct there. And that is why I've always said that unless you strip off high public servants like president, vice president, governors, and their deputies of that immunity, corruption will not be erased, Because if you say after their tenure, before their tenure, they will hide all the pieces of evidence they have that you can use to prosecute against them. Before their tenure, they would have changed their company names to some other people's names. You see, American president doesn't have immunity. The governors do not have. The irony of our own situation is that we import what is bad and export the good aspect of our own. The immunity clause is only meant to make sure that public looters continue to loot with impunity. And if the National Assembly does not do so before they go, then of course they are proving too that they are neck deep in support of corruption.
Right. Umar Anache is a regular caller on this program. He's in Birnin Kabi. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Ciro. You see, when it comes to fighting corruption, I think everybody is guilty. We are all guilty as Nigerians. To be frank and sincere, we are all guilty of corrupt cases in one way or the other. And largely, fighting against corruption, I think, has to do with attitude. We need to change our attitude, generally, honestly. But to go beyond that, there is this popular saying in Hausa called meaning it is with front people that you can test how deep the river is while crossing. So, to that extent, fighting against corruption is largely with leaders. Previously, there is this thing. It's only Mr. President and Vice President that declared their assets publicly. But today, to my knowledge, none of the members of the cabinet that declare his assets publicly. So let's start from there. Let all of them declare their assets publicly. And secondly, we shouldn't rubbish the fighting against corruption of this administration. There was this marching order that Mr. President gave that the list of looters should be published. Up to today, that order has not been carried out. And just to also hear that there is list and there is other list again. And Magu was asked in the Senate, how much has been recovered so far? And he was trying to dodge from that question by saying that he was not expecting this question. He would have come with the document. So we shouldn't rubbish this fighting against corruption. Honestly, let me just stop here for others to contribute. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Umar Anache. Well, I'd like to go back to another issue that Prof raised. And since we are looking at degenerating moral values as well, and he did talk about tips, all right? And something which in some parts of the country, for instance, in the north, we call ladder. At what point does that become an inducement? Because, Prof, you said, well, after one has done a job, you're happy with the job, you give a tip. But if it's before, then it might mean something else. But I say again, isn't it possible that in anticipation of this tip, you are induced to do what you're not supposed to do, or go beyond what you're supposed to do?
Well, our law is very, very clear on that. There's a sharp distinction between African hospitality and corrupt inducement. The 5th schedule of the Constitution that talks about code of conduct clearly talks about it. In a situation whereby I am expecting something, whether immediately or in future, I came about offering you gifts or whatever, you are duty bound to reject it.
All right. Okay. We'll just ask you to pause a while. We'll come back because Chisom is back on the line. We lost his call earlier on. Hello, Chisom. Go right ahead.
Yeah, please. I'm back again.
Yes.
Please, I was saying before, when somebody is sick and you are in the hospital and they told you that the doctor is there, and you look on the door and you behold a man coming with a mechanic dressing. So as a patient, will you be encouraged or will you be disencouraged? So there's no how we can fight the corruption in this country with the corrupt people. Because there is no how you can wash a dirty clothes with a dirty water. Now, the only way to fight the corruption in this country, sir, it is the time that our country, Nigeria, will start doing our election by the masses will. If the country or our country is running the nation by God's Father, how possible do you think that corruption will leave this country? How possible do you think we can go free from corruption? Because even you are in that seat as a governor or a senator or any kind of representative, and somebody is a godfather that work all things for you, you must obey him. And you must do things according to their wish. If we want to fight this corruption, this country we need to wake up from sleep by doing things according to the masses' wish. I love what our honorable said, the honorable in Colombia, talk about the issues concerning the EFCC. Now they are only investigating people. Who are investigating them? This is the point. Who are investigating them? Now they're only investigating others. But what of them? Now look at the power we put upon the governor. Nobody will investigate any governor until he is out of it. So do you think if you are the one in that, before you go out, you put things in order? Some documents you will hide some documents and put it in order where you cannot be investigated and you cannot be found. And we'll make sure that the person that will took place the seat must cover some of your mess and cover you up. Let me come against that. I'm sorry to say this.
All right. Okay.
1 week ago, sir, I got in the net about 2018 budget. Tears come out of my eye. I'm telling this too. I cried more than 2 minutes. Let me just say 30 minutes. When I heard about that the federal government did a budget about generators, empowerment of billion naira concern generators. I asked myself a question that my country is giving another country life. It's why are we doing budget of generator? Where is our life? Look at all these things.
Okay.
For we to fight the corruption, let us fight ourselves first.
All right. Thank you so much, Chisholm. Right. Okay. Yes. All right.
Yes.
So back to the issue of tips and ladder.
So like I was saying, the law is abundantly clear. The ICPC Act of the year 2000 is clear. Anything you get in excess of your correct remuneration is illegal. In a situation whereby all those what we call office privileges in court and on court are illegal.
In local parlance,
Exactly. It's illegal. All those office privileges is illegal. And talking to what my brother was talking about and the professor about who is investigating EFCC, it is the problem with our law. The law says it should be acting upon a report. Upon a report. Sections 214 to 216 of the Constitution clearly predicates the power of all these EFCC and the rest on the Nigerian police. It's there in Chapter 4 of the Police Act of 2004. All these powers are there. Somebody has to make a report. In absence of any report against EFCC or whosoever is there in EFCC, is the reason why there will not be any action against EFCC. There is nobody that is above the law. The judges, the EFCC, the ICPC, ministers, National Assembly members, even those that are having immunity. The immunity did not say they should not be investigated. I believe my learned father will agree with me, is only in respect of prosecution. They can be investigated. Documents can be confiscated and be assembled And there is no reason why in the process of the investigation, all those security paraphernalia cannot be stripped away for them to be detained during the course of the investigation. The law is very clear, but the willingness of application of the law to the letter is another thing different.
All right, we have from Kano calling in Salihu. Well, we lost that that call from Salihu. Okay, well, so here we are with what we think is African hospitality, that you call it.
Yes.
But which, in you know, in another way, may well be the beginnings of corruption, really. Because where do you draw the line?
For example, if you are talking about, let me give instances of African hospitality. You are going to a particular destination, you stop at the junction and said, please, where do it take me to village X? The man voluntarily guides you up to the point you get through, and you decide on your own volition to give him fruits, money, or whatever. It's African hospitality, because when you leave, you are not expecting to see him back again. Or the issue of these people by the roadside, the policemen, even though it's illegal now for roadblocks to be on the side, on the roads. There is nothing wrong when you are passing. Voluntarily on your own, you decide to give them sachets of pure water to cool down their stay throughout the sunshine. Or another thing, there is nothing wrong if you are a petrodollar millionaire, you decide to construct police a station, or you decide to go into your community and build charitable homes.
Right.
Or you decide to build schools or hospitals or whatever.
And when you build a police...
when you know you are not a politician, you are not expecting
when you build
any return.
a police station, and someday there is a case against you, the police from that station will investigate you.
No, it's an offense against the state, not against the police station, and not against the community.
Let's take this call from Mohammed, calling in from Eula. Hello. Mohammed from Eula.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
I've been trying for long. Yes, I say I'm contributing. I hear you. Yes, my own contribution is this. The president, I said the president, President Muhammad Buhari came on board with the intention of fighting corruption. But his major problem is this. So the masses that elected him, they were expecting him to act as if he was, during the time he was a military. And now the people come to find out that in the democratic setting, he cannot be able to act as that when he was a military. And since he cannot do that, now people started to look for alternatives, in the sense that the alternative is this. He should now look for people that have voted for him. And the people that are honest and sincere, but with the caliber of people that he has on board, they are not helping matters. And Buhari individually cannot be able to now go into this nation and start picking for people. And the most corrupt people that are the ones that are mostly spearheading the affairs of the states now, particularly the nation. They themselves knew those people that can help the president to also be able to now fight corruption. But they cannot present to the president those credible people. And in view of that, that is why it is a constraint in fighting the corruption. Like, for example, a lot of complaints have been made in this EFCC and the grab agencies, but up to now, some of them didn't take action. The only way you call, they tell you they are prepared, they have finished investigation, they are going to start taking action, or they have approved their travels. But up to now, I can give, for example, a case of about 6 months. No action was taken from the EFCC. Whenever you call them, they give you chances, or they tell you they are on investigation. They are in Port Harcourt, they are in Abuja, they are in this, they are in that. Is there any special preferential treatment for any corrupt case? So my own candid advice to the president is he should find a means of ways through which you can get credible people. There are very many credible people, and particularly at the lower level in the state. But those that are corrupt or are linked to corruption have not been able to allow him to be able to feed these people to form a team so that they can fight. They can even sacrifice their life. But nobody is doing that. So that's my contribution. Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Ustaz Man, there are so many agencies, and it would seem that there is some unhealthy rivalry. It's all there in the open. Who does what? Whose responsibility is to take on what? You have the EFCC, you have the ICPC, you have the Code of Conduct, you have the police itself, and it would seem that sometimes all these bodies are acting at cross purposes. How can there be synergy amongst them?
As you rightly said, the whole thing is duplicative. Particularly ICPC and EFCC, their functions are duplicative. Where we have sincere people, police can do that, EFCC alone can do that, ICPC alone can do that. And when you have all these things, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go back, but ICPC and EFCC was purposely established by Obasanjo for the international community to believe that he was fighting corruption, whereas he was not fighting any corruption. In fact, he was using EFCC as a sniff dog. Really, he wasn't sincere. Quote me anyway, he wasn't sincere, and it is unfortunate. The issue, as I am saying, is this. Even most of these people are not even sincere about fighting corruption. If there is sincerity about fighting corruption, there should be synergy. You don't need to say, I won. Say, we won. But that issue of I instead of we, it is still there. And so, we are not ready to fight corruption. Yeah, EFCC will write petition against ICPC. This one will write this against this. In the same government. And unfortunately, the president is looking. No, it is not fair. Buhari has not impressed me in that aspect at all. The buck lies at his table.
For the citizens, they have a role to play. And we see this happen over and over again in society. Someone is facing charges, and suddenly their community, they get together. Why is it our son? Why is it our daughter? And it starts from there. So what role do you have? When people go back, no questions are asked. People see as their own. People get into public office. It's now the turn of their ethnic group, their community, or the usual old boy syndrome. Suddenly, old schoolmates and classmates get together, and we begin to see all these blocks coming around.
Thank you. Unemployment in Nigeria has become a disease. It's a terrible disease. Let us look at it. What caused it? When I return, I say, it's you that asked me that question. In this manifesto you have, how are you going to end unemployment problem? It's you. Ask me. In 2007, I told you there is a built-in remedy to unemployment. It's just that we don't use what we have to get what we need and want. Right. Yes. If you look at it very closely, what makes a child to be a rogue is a scarcity of needs and how to satisfy those needs. A father is taking care of 10 children and is the only person working. It cannot balance. No. And a mother is doing everything humanly possible to support these children. If you pass by, give her 20 naira. This is me. She will be ever grateful to you. But what has happened in Nigeria is this. Nigeria have a systematic approach. More than 80% of what products we have in Nigeria are imported. Factors of production that are not neutral is capital. Labor plus knowledge, material is equal to production. Nigeria don't produce. Yes. If we can produce, believe you me, we have the mineral resources. Everything we need to create jobs, unlimited jobs. When I told Nigeria, when I came back, I said, all right, my plan of action, when you implement it, what is going to happen is every year I'm going to create 10 million jobs for Nigerians. Say, please. I say, yes, I have the solution. I say, every year, in 10 years, it's 100 million. Job will be waiting for our children. When you have 3, look at it. That's why I told Honorable San, 0 is not empty. It's just undefined. Yes. When you look at it, how functional relationship we are in our economic approach, solution to our problem is meeting the obligations and needs and wants. When we want to end it, this is how we can end it. My suggestion is, Buhari, please do not wait for legislative action. Issue an executive order. When you issue an executive order, you preempt everybody that say, I'm going to sit down this state, say, this is your line. Mind you, if Buhari is not here, another person comes in, issue of corruption is goodbye. There will be nobody else to say, I want to talk about corruption. Even you yourself will be reluctant to host it, discussion about this. You understand? But what I want to also add is this. Nigeria is no longer for Nigerians only. Nigeria is now for all African and African descendants in the world. It's about time we put our house in order. Otherwise, other South Africa or Egypt will take in the leadership role Nigeria has. Nigeria is bearing a body of inordinate conduct and behavior by ourselves, but it's not sharing and receiving the benefits of the efforts.
All right. Is it a lack of capacity or the inability to articulate policies that are put in place? Let's take the whistleblower policy. It was welcomed by so many Nigerians, but recently we're beginning to see challenges with that as well. The question of identifying who is a whistleblower, and Nigerians are asking the question, if you give me information, do I not know that you gave me information? if I didn't give you information, how come someone else has the kind of information? And what's the issue?
Is the failure of the National Assembly to apply sections 4 and 11 of the Constitution. They have the responsibility to enact law to support the whistleblower policy. There should be a law to be enacted to even have the legal basis of the existence of the whistleblower policy. In a situation whereby you live it like that, deliberately in order to even identify who blew the whistle against me, I can deliberately stage manage some people to go and claim that they are the whistleblowers, so that eventually the original one will come and say, I am the original one. And that will spell doom on the identity of the original whistleblower. So there should be a law to support the whistleblower policy. There should be a legislation. And the legislation should clearly talk about penalties in a situation whereby you decide to go into whistleblowing in order to tamper with somebody's integrity. Maliciously, you decide to go and whistle the name of somebody, to tarnish his name on a deliberate, this orchestrated wrongdoing. So there should be limitations and there should be clear parameters and guidelines to support the government decision. I really look at it as embarrassing to say that there are so many people that were claiming the benefits of the whistleblowing. I wonder if the Ministry of Finance, the EFCC or the Attorney General's office cannot know, identify who is the first person in this jet era of ICT technology. It is ridiculous, it is unfortunate. I believe that should have even been investigated, and whosoever caused it should be penalized, so that it will serve as deterrent, so that subsequently other people will not be coming to be trying to rape where they didn't sue. So the whole of it has to do with the issue of leadership by example. Even the whistleblowing, there is even this argument that the 5% is no more what some other people are getting. So confidentiality of the informants, the promptness of settling the 5% or whatever percent is it, the issue of identification of who is even the first one, not to even go about say he has to come personally to sign this, to do this, to do this, to do this. All these are exposing the whistleblower to danger. And the moment some of the whistleblowers got eliminated, so many other people will be afraid to even blow the whistle. So there should be a legislation to carefully and technically capture all that thing. And regarding the issue of whether Nigeria doesn't have the capacity, we have the capacity. The only thing is the willingness. God has endowed Nigeria with all the veritable mineral resources you can think about, because all of them in the world are in between the desert and the sea, and we have it in abundance. The issue of Nigeria is that if we want to progress, like Prof said, we have to fight unemployment. And one of the ways to fight unemployment is that we should focus attention towards economy. And under economy, we should hamper on industrialization. No nation develops without industrialization.
Thank you.
And for us to go into industrialization, we have to increase the tempo of our power generation. We are now, thank God, we have reached up to 7,000 megawatts. But what is 7,000 megawatts in connection with about 85,000 megawatts of South Africa, which is only using 40,000 megawatts and then selling the remaining 45,000 megawatts to Botswana, Namibia, and other South African countries? And how about Egypt, that is having 115,000 megawatts? Take the case of Saudi Arabia. The two holy mosques of Medina and Mecca, each is having a dedicated backup of 100,000 megawatts. So we really need to go into industrialization. If we don't have the money, we can still go into these treaties that President Buhari signed with many international communities in such a way that we can ask those international people to come. Because one of their fear is that, especially Switzerland, is that if they bankroll the money, they will run to bankrupt. Now, instead of that, let them come and do the work. That the equivalence of that money, let them link railway lines to all the state capitals in Nigeria. Let them increase the quantum of our electricity generation. Let us have megawatts of, even Ghana is having about 30,000 megawatts. So let us increase that one as a fundamental basis. Let us instill patriotism, discipline, and get our Nigerians in the diaspora to have the interest to come and invest in Nigeria. But for them to do that, the atmosphere must be really viable and friendly for such investments to thrive. And then we should be able to even do other things. For example, the looted money we can arrange with those countries to come and dredge River Niger and Benue. bring about water so that Lake Chad Basin can be back into its lost glory. So that at the same time, we have abundance of land in agriculture.
Brought the funds.
The government
Funds
should
are
take
here.
a lead if we are serious about agriculture in such a way that
It's only to
every state
trust.
government should cultivate a minimum of 250,000 hectares of land. Let the government do government farms. At the end of it, let us have marketing board. And at the end of it, let the government be subsidizing half of it and be exporting half, so that we will see to the increase of our foreign exchange earnings. And that is what will make our currency to be a stronger currency that will be a veritable instrument of commodity exchange in the world of economy of today.
Right. Prof, econometrics.
Well, yeah,
and
as
solving the issue of
econometricians, you see, actually 3 principles occur here. 1, doing what you know how to do. 2, using what you have to get what you need. And 3, capitalize and actualize your action. That was the reason I planned 10-year master plan for Nigeria. I say, okay, River Niger, we will dredge you 1 mile wide, 400 feet deep, and we will finance you 100%. I presented it to Obasanjo administration. Obasanjo started dancing without music. I said, it's 269 miles to Lokoja. At Asaba and Onitsha on both sides. 6 miles long harbor on both sides. At Lokoja, 4 square miles for the ship to turn around. River Benue, 6 miles. So that the superhighway that are connected to it is 12 lanes superhighway. When that superhighway is constructed, there will be 4-track railway line, 1 for cargo, 1 for passenger, connecting from Ondo to Sokoto, from Calabar to Sokoto, from Port Harcourt to Katsina. When you construct these highways from Lagos to Maiduguri, when it is done, 3 things happen simultaneously. Cargo flow, human movement is a self-generating, self-sustaining. When you are doing that, you are plowing in positive, you are bringing in positive. But if you say, no, federal government, where do you get money to maintain it? If you do it that way, another thing. So what we need to do is this. 0 is a function of unknown figure, but it is not an empty 0. Therefore, empty thinking of 0, okay, is because you have no plan. If you have plan, if you get 0, you put 1 in front of it, it's no longer 0. No, it is 10. But if you count 1 that originates from 0 into 9, it's finished. Why? 0 is not empty. You add 0 to it, it's no longer 9. It's 90. What Nigeria needs to do is this. Nigeria should say, this is where we are going. How we intend to do, we are going to take these steps to get there.
Right.
If you are able to create employment capacity level, when people leave school, they don't leave school, go out from school to go home. Don't let them give them work to do. And you say somebody, you are 50, 60 years old, you are retired. Shame on you. To do what? Retire to go and die?
Mr. Some say it's not a question of having more laws. You have so many laws that can deal with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of enforcement. You think you need more laws or enforcement of existing laws or what?
We have enough laws, as far as I'm concerned. The issue is that the political will is not there. Even these issues, somebody was telling me the other time that you cannot convict somebody because he has excess amount. I say unless you don't have a capable hand. Now, you know his salary. If his salary is 2 million a year, and he has built a house of 5 million, take him to court, tender his salary slip, and the value of that house. Then, under the Penal Code, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, then he's a thief. You don't need more laws. But the issue is that who is really ready to fight this corruption? And that is my bother. For example, very few governors will be ready to. A typical example, all these Paris reform and so on that were given to the governors. I think I can just think of Akeredolu and Kaduna, who have been able to pay salaries up to date with this. Is that not corruption? And you say if not because of immunity, you say you cannot punish them. Take them to court. Say you are giving this. You sign for it. Yes. You have not done anything. Have you not committed an offense? You don't need more laws. But the issue is that who is ready to take these people to court? Who is ready to punish? We are not yet ready to fight corruption.
All right. It is on that note we'll have to leave this discussion. Our time is gone, and we, at some other point, will revisit the issue of fighting corruption in Nigeria. For now, let's thank our guests here. Say thank you very much to Professor Brahmi Abraham Olagiri. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for bringing me here.
All right. Say thank you also to Mainasara Kugo Umar. Thank you so much.
God bless Nigeria.
Right. And thank you also to Yunus Ustaz Usman, SEN.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right. And thank you too for being part of this program. Next week, we'll reach you again with NTA Tuesday Live. Cyril Stover. Bye for now.